You are perhaps familiar with the briefing that the Russian Defense Ministry gave this morning, in which they laid out satellite images or radar tracking images talking about a Ukrainian fighter plane that was apparently near the Malaysian Airlines plane. They also asked questions, a series of questions to you, meaning the U.S. government, to produce the documentation, the evidence that Secretary Kerry, Ambassador Power talked about, but didn't offer any, forensic evidence or at least intel evidence. How do you respond to that?
Well, a couple points. You saw the Secretary yesterday speak very clearly about our assessment that this was an SA-11 fired from Russian-backed separatist-controlled territory. That we know, we saw on social media afterwards, we saw videos, we saw photos of the pro-Russian separatists bragging about shooting down an aircraft that they then took down. Once it became clear that it may have been a passenger airline. There is a preponderance of evidence at this point, both sort of out there in the public domain and also from our information, that points to the fact that there was a SA-11 launched from separatist-controlled territory. We assess, of course, that the Russian-backed separatists have this system, and one of the main reasons we have called for a full investigation is so we can get all the facts out there. So what I would encourage the Russians to do at this point is to push the separatists that are backed by their government to allow access, to allow investigators who are in Ukraine waiting to go into that area right now, and that's what I would call on Russia to do at this point.
Right, but what they're saying is that they've put what they have out on the table, or at least they say they have.
Well, I haven't seen any of that. Again, we've made an assessment based on a broad range of information. We know this was fired from Russian-controlled territory. It is our assessment, very strong assessment. This was an SA-11 that we know the Russian-backed separatists have. We, again, continue to gather more information and call on Russia to push the separatists to allow for a full investigation.
How is it exactly that you know that it was fired from from separatist-held territory?
Well, we have a great deal of information that the Secretary laid out yesterday, and I can go back through some of it today. But we do know, first, that Russian-backed separatists were in possession of an SA-11 system as early as Monday, July 14th. This is from intercepts of separatist communications posted on YouTube by the Ukrainian government.
Well, is there anything other, because,
I can keep going if you want to jump in.
Well, is there stuff that's other than social media that
Yes,
you're
absolutely, there is.
So what is it that's other than social media?
At this point, Matt, we've said what our assessment is, a very strong assessment publicly. If there's more information that's based on that we can share, we're happy to do so. We'll continue looking at that. But look, this is what we know as of right now, based on open information, which is basically common sense, right? We know where it was fired from. We know who has this weapon.
Well, I don't
backed
know.
up,
It's
backed
disputed, though.
Backed up by a host of information that we have gathered about who did this, where it came from, and what the weapon system was. So we're just telling you what we know now.
Right,
one of the reasons we've called on Russia to push the separatist sit-backs into an investigation so we can get all the facts. Instead of holding press briefings and making statements, maybe the Russian government should call on the separatists they support to allow an actual investigation.
Right, but that's what you've done. You've held security
Well, we don't
council
have leverage with
meetings
the
and
separatists. I would say the Russians do, and they're not using it. So let's have them use it.
I think we're talking at cross purposes here. I'm asking you.
Wouldn't be the first time.
No, that's true. But I'm asking you, there's all you're willing to present publicly that backs up your version of the story, which may well be the correct version of the story, but all you have, well, it may well be, but I don't know. Because I haven't seen your evidence that shows that the missile was launched from rebel-held territory. But you're saying, so the only thing you're willing to put out publicly is the social media accounts. The social media.
That's part of it.
Right, but there is social media account that says that disputes that, or that claims to present a different version. So
what would that version be, Matt?
Well, I don't. There are many theories, but you're saying
most
that
of
all
which are
those
completely
accounts,
illogical.
Well,
I would point out
all of the accounts that do not support your version of events are wrong, and all of the ones that do support it are right.
Look, we make assessments based on a variety of intelligence and a variety of information, some of which we can talk about publicly, and some of which we can't. And we also, and look, if you just take a step back, right? We need there to be an investigation so we can get all the facts, period. But on top of that, we have public information, which is, of course, the easiest for us to talk about,
Right.
of the separatists bragging about having the system, bragging about the attack that took place, and then walking back from it when it became known that it was a passenger jet. I would ask people who don't believe our assessment to say, okay, what other possible explanation could there be for that? They
Well-
defy logic, right?
Well, I don't know if it
So
defies logic
when
or
you
not, but-
start from a place of you have separatists out on, again, this is the easiest piece of information for us to talk about, online bragging about it. Start there and then work from there and work from all of the evidence we have that we are confident we know where it was fired from. We're confident we know what it was. And it points in a certain direction. Again, we would encourage Russia to support an investigation
Right.
if they don't believe the facts.
It points in a certain direction, but I'm not sure it would stand up to, to
I
an
strongly disagree. I
international
absolutely believe that it would.
investigation. Well, are you willing, if not at this moment in time now, but soon, to put forward the intel that you say backs the claims that were made on social media? And in particular, it seems to me that the Secretary was very definitive, as you were just now, as saying that you know for sure, 100%.
I didn't say 100%. Nothing is 100% in any world, Matt, but go ahead. It is our assessment, very strong assessment.
Very strong assessment that the rocket, that the missile was fired from the rebel-held territory. And, I mean, you can't, there is no social media that I'm aware of that would
Well,
lead to
at the time that MH17 flight dropped out of contact, we detected a surface-to-air missile launch from a separatist-controlled area in southeastern Ukraine,
Yes.
which we believe was an SA-11. What you want is the intelligence that underlies that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the Russians have challenged. I'm just saying, the
I'm just trying
Russians
to
have
clarify the
said
question.
we've shown we put out our radar images which show this Ukrainian plane near, at least, that, well, they have. I mean,
Right.
Why don't you put out your?
Well, unfortunately, I don't have original declassification authority, Matt. But
Okay,
wait, let me finish. But look, we have endeavored to make public as much information as possible. Obviously, if you're dealing with an intelligence assessment in part, so we are sometimes limited in what information we can share. That's why I think you saw the Secretary speak much more forward-leaning about why we believe this and
Right.
how we believe it. Sometimes you can't get into all the specifics. We endeavor to put as many out as possible. We're continuing to see if we can do more.
Okay.